All right, today we are doing a deep dive into a claim that, well, you see it everywhere. It's this really persistent idea that milk is actually bad for you.
Yeah, specifically that it can increase your risk of bone fracture.
Exactly. And a lot of this was kicked into high gear by a book from 2008 called Milk, Lies, and Propaganda.
And our goal here is to really critically evaluate that claim. We're going to use the academic analysis provided by Professor Lin to cut through the noise.
So we're looking at the actual science.
The actual science, we need to explain the biomedical concepts clearly and figure out, what's just a correlation versus what's actual causation.
Okay, so let's start at the source, the book itself. The author, Thierry Sukar, he's a news journalist, right?
Right. And that's important. He doesn't have a medical or nutritional background. And the analysis suggests he kind of started with his conclusion first, that milk is harmful, and then went looking for evidence.
He cherry-picked the data.
It seems so. And the main piece of anecdotal evidence he uses is a great example of this. He claimed that Sweden drinks the most milk in the world, and because of that, has the highest rate of osteoporosis.
That sounds pretty convincing on the surface.
It does, but it's just not true. Our sources, which are based on 2025 data, show Sweden isn't even in the top 20 for milk consumption.
Oh, wow.
And the claim about it having the highest osteoporosis rate, that's also unsupported by the evidence.
Yeah, wait, so this entire myth, the one that's been repeated for years, is built on a geographical example that is just factually wrong.
Pretty much.
That's wild. But okay, let's apply that critical thinking we talked about. Even if the correlation did exist, let's just pretend for a second, that wouldn't prove milk was the cause, right?
Exactly. That is the single most important question you have to ask.
Yeah.
Because there are always confounding factors.
Founding factors. Can you break that down for us?
Sure, it's just other things that could explain the link. For example, countries with really advanced medical systems are just better at diagnosing osteoporosis, so of course their numbers look higher.
Okay, that makes sense.
Or, think about this. Countries with more elderly people are just naturally going to have more fractures. It has nothing to do with what they're eating.
And what about, like, geography?
That's a huge one. Many of the high dairy-consuming countries are at high latitudes. That means less sun, which means lower vitamin D.
And vitamin D is critical for bone health, completely separate from calcium.
Completely separate. And, this isn't just our take. A French science organization, Le Cortex, looked into this back in 2016.
And what did they find?
They concluded that the author distorted the science and that his claims about dairy causing osteoporosis just had no statistical or scientific support.
So we've taken apart the myth. Let's
Oh.
pivot. What does the hard data from the last 5 years actually say?
So Professor Lin's analysis pulls from 10 huge systematic reviews and meta-analyses, all published between 2020 and 2025. This is, the gold standard of evidence.
10 of them. And what's the verdict?
It's unanimous, and it's a complete contradiction of the myth.
Really?
Yeah. Moderate dairy intake is consistently linked to a reduced risk of osteoporosis. And not just that, also hypertension, cardiovascular disease, stroke, obesity, even some cancers like colorectal cancer.
So it's not just neutral, it's actively beneficial.
It seems to be. The evidence is especially strong for helping bone density throughout your life, especially for kids and adolescents, and also in Asian populations.
So just to be absolutely clear, all 10 of these major academic reviews directly oppose the idea that milk increases fracture risk.
They absolutely do. And what's really interesting is that the science has moved on a bit. Researchers aren't just looking at calcium anymore.
What are they looking at?
They're talking about the dairy matrix.
The dairy matrix.
It's the idea of looking at the whole food, how all the proteins, fats, vitamins, and minerals in dairy work together to benefit the body. It's a much more holistic view.
So the science here seems pretty settled, but the myth just keeps going. And that leaves us with a final question for you to think about.
Yeah.
If the scientific evidence is so consistently positive, what other pressures or maybe motivations, outside of the actual science could be fueling the appeal of these books that claim our common foods are toxic? It's something to think about. Thanks for diving deep with us.